story you were telling me. Couple boys clock out about 5:35, trying to put a little hammer in their head. Standing in the liquor store staring at a fifth, but they picked up a handle instead. Hell right.
Hell right.
Hell right.
Okay.
Couple girls with their boots on, got their Bluetooth on, t-shirts saying go Sooners. Then the girl from the small town took off the old town, put on the little Hank Jr.
Thank God.
Hell right. She got all her rowdy friends coming over tonight. Hell right. Hell right. Everybody's throwing down on a Friday night somewhere in America. There's a bottle to burn and a fire to light, and you ain't done nothing if you did it halfway. If you're gonna raise hell, then you better damn raise hell right. Hell right. Hell right. There's a guitar on the ground that was making some sound till somebody pulled a hillbilly slip. Now there's fog on the window. She never would have kissed him if he didn't play a lick like this. Hell right. Hell right. Hell right. Hell right. Everybody's throwing down on a Friday night somewhere in America. There's a bottle to burn and a fire to light, and you ain't done nothing if you did it halfway. If you're gonna raise hell, then you better damn raise hell right. Hell right. Hell right. Now 7 a.m., damn if there ain't an empty handle on a square hay bale. Everybody's passed out drunk, but when they wake up, they're all gonna hurt like hell right. Yeah, boy. Hell right. Hell right. Everybody's throwing down on a Friday night somewhere in America. There's a bottle to burn and a fire to light, and you ain't done nothing if you did it halfway. If you're gonna raise hell, then you better damn raise hell right. Hell right. Hell
You're listening to the House of Cards on the Big Patriot Radio Network.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards, live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down now.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
Tonight's show is brought to you by the folks at WeThePatriotShop.com/big. Contact them at 518-538-2877. That's 518-538-2877 if you're looking for hormone-free, grass-fed, Black Angus American-grown beef for your next cookout. You're going to want to visit the folks at WeThePatriotShop.com/big. Your cookout and barbecue is going to be the hit of the summer. Check them out at WeThePatriotShop.com/big and tell them you heard about them on Big Patriot Radio.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
And good evening, everybody. Once again, it is Thursday. I'm Mike Covert, and this is the Beaufort County's House of Cards. Wow, great to have you here. It's another great Thursday night. We're going to jump right into it. We've got a big, huge show tonight. Glad to have everybody checking in all over social media. We've got you coming in from Facebook, 2 streams on Facebook. We've got you coming in from YouTube, Twitter. Twitter is starting to pick up in numbers of watchers every week. And, of course, we are simulcast live on bigpatriotradio.com. You can check that out worldwide, and we've got folks all over the United States checking in already tonight with us on the show. Want to go over the number one song this week on Big Patriot Radio was Nothing Else Matters from Metallica. And the number one listening areas, last week, Mount Pleasant for the second week in a row, and Somerville right here in the Charleston area. Number one listening cities. We've got two guests tonight, and I think that's probably because of last week's guest, excuse me, congressional district candidate Bill Young was here. And so that's more than likely why we got some big numbers there in Mount Pleasant and Somerville. Two guests coming on tonight, a lot of stuff to go over, and we're going to just jump right into it. We do want to remind you, however, don't forget that BigPatriotRadio.com is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can stream it on your TV, your Roku, your Hulu, or whatever. You can stream it in your car. You can put it on your computer. You can stream it on Amazon. Anywhere you want to play it, you pretty much can play BigPatriotRadio.com. It's there all day, all night, music, and 5 nights a week. 5 nights a week, we've got podcasts. Monday night is New America Movement with Dave and Jordan Cox. That is at 7 and at 9 p.m. Wednesday night is Corey Allen and the Overton Report, and that is at 8 and then in the 9 o'clock hour sometime. Let's see. Thursday night is us here at Big Patriot Radio in Beaufort County's House of Cards. Saturday night, Ann Ubellis, the Chickadee, the Radio Chickadee, Ann Ubellis and Southern Sense Radio is on at 7 o'clock on Saturday nights. Great show she's got there. And then our good friend Andrew Southwick, writing books, creating movies, and doing podcasts. Culture Crossroads, Sunday nights, 7 o'clock. Right here on BigPatriotRadio.com.
Introducing to you. You're on House of Cards. Live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
All right, we're going to talk about this first subject. We're going to talk about it now. And then we've got a guest coming on in our second segment. And we'll veer away from this. Then we're going to come back to it. With our second guest, but I'm opening the door for it right now because, even though this is the Beaufort County's House of Cards, we're really a statewide deal. We cover a lot of stuff all over the state. One of the GOP primary races for state Senate was in the news again this week as incumbent, and this is Senate district up in Charleston County and Dorchester up that way. Which is not that far away. Anyway, incumbent Senator Sandy Senn and challenger, who is current House of Representatives member, Matt Leber, got together for a forum debate in Dorchester County. I believe, don't hold me to it, but I believe it was put on by the Dorchester County Republican Party. Now, I want you to also remember that this outlet has been trying for weeks and weeks to get the Sandy Senn camp to agree to come onto the show. Now, I've spoken with the Leber team multiple times, and the first minute I asked, they were like, yep, we'll do it. Yep, we'll do it. They know the footprint that we have. It's taken, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to get to someone in the Senn camp. Finally, we got an answer from them, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So this race has been a contentious one, to say the least, so far. If you haven't been paying, say you live in Beaufort County, you're not paying attention to what goes on the Charleston area, pick it up, look it up, pay attention to it, because it's sad, it's interesting, it's disgusting. It's unfortunately politics as we know it right now for some people, and Sandy Senn is personifying that, in our opinion. So not only has it been contentious, but mainly, in our opinion, Sandy Senn has been, she's been making incredibly large, loud, and incompetent claims against Matt Leber. Some of her attacks have actually, in my opinion, been rather childish. And quite honestly, I'm big in decorum. Most of her remarks, I know probably didn't come from her. They came from her handler because they were juvenile and childish. They were not becoming of a senator. This past week, Leber got to confront her on some of those, but he wanted to, and I think the crowd did too, wanted to go into issues. Okay. It's kind of like listening to Who Paid the Hooker on TV. I mean, I really don't care who paid the hooker. Okay. I really don't care if Sandy Senn thinks, something about Matt Leber's personal life. I really don't care. I'm more interested in why are we paying freaking ridiculous gas prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, Leber got to confront her on some of this stuff. On the claim that Leber was not a graduate of the college that he claims, she says her team hired a private investigator and found out that Leber had lied, and her team at the helm was man-child CJ Westfall running this program. He had lied, and it's horrible, and made these all this ridiculous shit. Leber, however, had letters from the college supporting his claims, and eventually Senn's camp, and that's SENN, her camp had to retract her comments as they were found to be erroneous. Now, again, I could care less where Matt Leber went to school or if Matt Leber went to school. I really don't care. I understand Matt Leber is he's a veteran. I'm more impressed about that than I am if he got an associate's degree in basket weaving or business or hypodermic needle testing. I really don't care. Sandy Senn's camp does, and they made themselves look like complete horse's ass when it was found out from the college that, yes, it's true, he went here. He has an AAS degree. So at this event this week, Leber had his diploma, asked folks in the gallery, hey, you take a look at it. Smell it, touch it, feel it, pass it around. And even at the beginning, and I'll show you this clip, he brought it over to Sandy Senn's handler or manager or whatever he is, CJ Westfall, who put his hands up like he was afraid to touch it. Some would call that allegedly being like a little bitch. So let's take a look. Let's find this. Let's go back here. I want y'all to see this, and maybe we'll play this a little bit later. If you like it that much, maybe we'll do it again. This is at the debate. Take a listen.
Next question, Representative Leber, goes to you first.
This is CJ Westfall over here in the right screen, and that's Matt Leber. Get rid of this commercial.
Race is considered to be one of the more contentious in the state. Considering the accusations levied against you by your opponent, please take a moment to address and offer a rebuttal to just one that you feel is unfair or false.
Well, I'd like to first thank my daughter, who's driven up from Florida, 20 years old, Savannah. She's come up. I got full custody of her when she was 8 years old, full custody, and her mother did not like it. But if you want to ask the person that was there the entire time and ask her, I got your back. You got my back.
Well, I'm going to fast forward.
She will tell you, I never abused her mother, ever.
I'm going to fast forward.
False allegations and attempt to win her back. All you have to do is ask either one of those two. Recently, it's come out that I do not have a degree. Well, here's my associate's degree.
Watch
you want to pass this out,
screen,
CJ, and let everybody take a look at it? And keep it moving. Take a look at my associate's degree. Come here. You guys can all pass that around and look at my associate's degree. These things.
Now, again, that's a shot right there of CJ, and let me stop the share on this. And so anyway, and I'd love to hear your comments. Please type them away, put them in the chat room, and I'll open it up as I can. So, the little sissy monger that he is, no, I don't want to touch your diploma because you're making me look bad, Matt. And he did. He made Leber made him look bad. Leber made Sandy Senn look bad. Anyway, Leber did graduate where he said he did. I don't remember the name of the school. Where he said he did, and so the story's going to go on. So Senn also has been on the attack, and a few nights ago, didn't spoil. She went out in the face of the public and Leber about a previous divorce that he had, and you're getting ready to see. He kind of alluded to that, and in front of everyone, she says, "Get this. This is a state senator now." She says, honey, let me find the quote. Quote, honey, your parents just decided to split you all apart. It was not a custody battle. It was not an award, end quote, in this condescending tone that even the crowd there was getting pissed off about this. So let's bring that back. Let's continue to show this debacle that was the Sandy Senn, Matt Leber, and there's a shot again of CJ Westfall, their debate.
You would think after 8 years as a senator that she would want to talk about her achievements and her voting record. She doesn't want to do any of that. She would rather just intimidate me and to keep regular folks like me from running against her with these outlandish personal attacks that have all been debunked. I have won every single time in court against these false allegations. And she's making false allegations about false allegations. We're going to find out after this campaign whether I keep my winning record in court. Because we're going to find out if this stuff is defamatory or slanderous. And I would submit to you humbly that it is getting to that point. This race should be about the issues. You guys don't care about this stuff. You don't care about my divorce decree and what my ex-wife said about me. There's my daughter sitting right there who loves me dearly and knows that this stuff is false and wrote her a letter and begged her to stop. There sits my wife who knows this stuff is false. It's false. What you care about is how we will legislate in the General Assembly that affects your life. Thank you.
And here comes Sandy Senn.
Savannah, I'm very sorry that you got brought here. This was not okay for this to happen. The fact of the matter is, in the fact of the matter is, in the divorce decree, and you can go to whoismattleber.com. If they're not there, I'll definitely put them there. But honey, your parents just decided to split y'all apart. It was not anything, a custody battle. It was not an award. This is what happened. And neither has he. And neither has he.
Yes, he has.
We'll
ask for decorum.
So there you have, Senator Sandy Senn. In my opinion, open mouth, insert foot. The way she's handled this is, I really, I don't agree with like half of what she does. She's the quintessential Democrat in Republican clothing. She's all tied up in this sister senator bullshit with Margie Bright Matthews. And it's more about her than it is the people. Obviously, you see it right there. And hey, don't get me wrong. Matt Leber and I disagree on a lot of stuff. Personally, I think he's too close to the Speaker of the House, or at least tries to be. That's my opinion. But this is wrong. This is wrong. I mean, and at least his voting record is genuinely conservative. Anyway, Senn and her lackeys, and that's what they are, bootlickers, have made claims that Matt Leber is an abusive person in his marriages. No verifiable data that I have been able to find, that my associates have been able to find, has been presented to say such. Only claims that show zero proof from any court or from any person. And again, let's talk about divorce. Yeah, he had a divorce. I don't care. One of the few things that really matters, like down at the bottom of the barrel, is whether the candidate in question has had a divorce or not. Okay. I guess if you're running for Pope, I guess that's a qualification. But aside from that, nobody gives a shit that that's a quality that, you know, that's, oh, you had a divorce. Oh, you're out. It's ridiculous. And Sandy Senn is ridiculous for even, and maybe it's not even her. Maybe it's her ridiculous handlers. So anyway, my questions to Sandy Senn, and of course of her handlers, would be, you know, what is it that you're scared of? What is it that you're scared of? Why are you talking about things of the nature that you are? Whether he was or wasn't in the military. I've seen medals, I've seen uniforms, I've seen all the paperwork that I would say, yeah, he's been in the military. Why are you worried about, you know, the divorce? Why are you worried about a college that he attended or didn't attend or partially attended or whatever? Why aren't you talking, Sandy Senn, about the things that matter? The things like gasoline taxes that you voted for, and we are continually paying more and more taxes on gasoline. Why is that, Sandy? Why, Sandy, aren't you talking about bills that are being held up in the Senate for various non-conforming reasons or various reasons that are, quite frankly, nefarious? They're just being held up because you can. Let's talk about your voting record. I mean, there's all kinds of things we can talk about, Sandy, not whether or not Matt Leber's been divorced. I don't know one time that Matt Leber brought up, you know, how many plastic surgeries has Sandy Senn had or not had. I don't know. I'm just going by what is alleged. But you know what, Sandy? I don't care if you've had 1 or 101. Stretch that face as far as you can. I do not care. I think it's fantastic. If you can afford it, by golly, stretch that face as far as you can for as long as you can. So, you know, that's really the big point here, ladies and gentlemen, is that nobody gives a damn about Leber's personal life, Sandy Senn's personal life, you know, personal struggles, not personal struggles, addictions, non-addictions. He's there to represent the people of his district in the General Assembly, putting them ahead of his issues and his concerns. He is putting them ahead. Sandy, you might, and again, I'm not a total Leber fan. Against you, I am. But maybe Sandy Senn, maybe you should take a page out of the Matt Leber book and put your constituents first. Shoo your little handler down the road and think of the people is sitting in those chairs. That's who writes your paycheck, not anybody else. Anyway, that's where Sandy Senn fails, or at least is failing right there. She's more worried about herself, her job, her career than those she is supposed to represent. I see our first guest is in the green room. Chris, I hope you can hear me back there. Your video is not, your camera's off. So if you would go ahead and get that on, and we'll bring you on here shortly. Our first guest is warming up back there in the green room, and we'll get him on here shortly. So anyway, and we're going to talk more about this Leber and Senn event here in a little while. However, we will be having Representative Matt Leber on this show within the next few weeks. I spoke to CJ Westfall, the handler, the manager, the puppeteer. I don't know what he is. And I said, hey, why don't you come on, you know, have her on here and let's do a forum thing. No. That was literally the answer. No. Okay, crybaby. Well, how about if you just a one-on-one interview, me and her? I mean, let's just do that. And crickets. The last thing they want to do is come on here because they know they'll be asked the reality questions. They know they'll be asked the hard questions that she cannot answer because someone like CJ or whoever else is in her ear has backed her into a corner and she can't answer. She should answer. And I guess come June 11th at the primary, I guess the answer will be done for her. You know, maybe they think the questions will be too damning. I don't know. I've never, I've interviewed tons of people. It seems like only the Democrats are worried that I'm going to like box them in a corner. and just start punching away. However, speaking of that, I did speak to Bill Herb Kurzman's opponent, Charity Owens, Democrat running for House Seat 118. She's one of the 5 Democrats here in Beaufort County who have decided to run for the state house. And she said, "Oh, sure, I'd love to come on your show." So I'm like shocked. That we're going to have her on sometime in the future. Anyway, so, either way, with Sandy Senn, we're going to have Matt Leber on. Whether she comes on or not, you can blow the show off, Sandy. That's fine. We're going to keep moving forward. And if I were you, I would take a long, hard look, my darling, at myself right about now in my team, my campaign. And after you're defeated, and see who, when, and where you were led astray. That's my advice to you, Sandy. You didn't pay for that. It's unsolicited advice. Whenever you answer that who, when, and where you were led astray, my suggestion, I would repair that. You still have time to make a difference, Sandy, in people's lives. Again, unsolicited advice to Sandy Senn. Take a page out of Matt Lieber's book. Put the people first. And you might go somewhere.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
All right. It is 27 minutes, about half past the hour here on Beaufort County's House of Cards. Moving forward, our first guest is going to be coming on here in a second. I met this guy. He is the former sheriff of Jasper County. Met him several years ago. And I guess, gosh, I don't know. It's been 10, 12 years, if not maybe more. I really, it's been a while. He and I both were invited out to a boys' home in Jasper County, a place called New Destiny, I believe it was, or is. Spent some time with him there. He talked, I talked, other people talked. I learned his story. I learned of his personal life, some struggles, philosophies, and I learned to know him as an incredible person. He began his law enforcement career, I believe like in 1999 at the Jasper County Correctional Center. In 2000, he moved on to the Ridgeland Police Department. He served there until 2016. And he was elected to serve as Sheriff of Jasper County, and he held that post until 2020, when the current sheriff, Hip, I believe, won in that election. He's received many awards, many accolades over his career. He is known, and I haven't spoken to him, but I would imagine he's going to tell me, he's going to give the praise to someone else. But he is known as a leader and a trendsetter in the field of narcotic seizures. Please join me. Let's bring on to the show Jasper County Sheriff's candidate Chris Malphrus to the House of Cards. Welcome in, buddy.
Mike, how are you, buddy?
I am doing well. It's good to see you, my friend. How have you been?
Man, I'm good. I see I got the pink shirt memo.
That's right. That's right. I don't know if you were able to hear all of what I was saying, but do you remember the day that I guess that was the first day we really met at New Destiny years ago?
I do remember. That is a ministry that we had supported for many, many years. The New Destiny Center. I've been personal friends with those folks for many years.
Yeah, that was a great day. I thoroughly enjoyed, sharing time with you, sharing a meal with you, and those young men who really took to you. I mean, they you could see it in their eyes. They really were listening deep to what you told them your story.
Well, as a child, I went through that process. I went through foster homes and a children's home. So I clearly understand to the depths of my heart, what they're going through, what they're dealing with. And I tell you what, it's to have someone step in and try to build a relationship and just give your all, those kids, it was everything.
That's awesome, man. It's been a while since I've been able to see you and speak to you. You look great. Are you ready to return to the sheriff position in Jasper County?
I am ready, more ready than I've ever been, Mike. Things are looking very, very well for us, and I'm running on my record. We really made a difference in Jasper County. We reduced violent crimes by 56%, And, we really, put the lockhold on the drug dealers in Jasper County, which, FBI says that 85% of all crimes that we deal with on a daily basis is drug related.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned just a few minutes ago, is that before I brought you on, that your name comes up a lot, and it has for years. When people are talking about law enforcement officers that are experts in narcotics, narcotic seizures, your name comes up a lot. In one of my questions, will you be bringing back that enhanced attention and vision to drug trafficking prevention along what I call the Pill Parkway of I-95 that splits right through Jasper County?
Yeah. Well, our number one, obviously, at some point we will, but obviously our number one goal is obviously to attack the drug problem within the county. It's an epidemic here. We have overdoses at a record number than ever before, and along with an aggressive drug unit, also want to have a overdose task force to attack the overdoses and lead back to the dealer, so we can also prosecute the dealer for these overdoses.
I want to get into into that part of it in just a second. I want to go back when you've got such a great track record when it comes to narcotics. In talking with someone, I don't know if you know, I'm not going to mention his name. He's a relative of mine in law enforcement here locally, who looks up to you, and he has told me, in the past, he was like, Chris is like this dog that knows when he sniffs around a car, he just knows where the drugs are. How do you do it? How do you do that? I mean, is that just total experience? Is that raw gut? How do you do that?
It's a sixth sense, but more importantly, it's training and experience. I'm like you, Mike. I'm very humble to a point, and I can honestly say, from a little old country boy from Jasper County, I've made some of the largest drug seizures and drug-related money seizures, definitely on the East Coast. I can just, as I think back, my largest cocaine seizure was 66 pounds in one stop. Largest heroin seizure was 10 pounds. Largest meth seizure, I think, was 12 pounds. Marijuana, we would seize hundreds and hundreds of pounds a year. We would seize multiple cars with hidden traps and concealment areas in it. And of course, over the 16 years that I worked the interstate, we probably I seized probably somewhere between $8 and $10 million cash. My largest cash seizure being $1.8 million, $1.75 million in one stop.
Wow, that's amazing. And people either ignorant that it's happening or just have no clue. One of the two, right here out our back door.
Right.
Narcotics trafficking, as we're both saying, it's an enormous issue. Another form of trafficking that has grown exponentially. It was around when you were sheriff, but it's grown exponentially since you were sheriff, is human trafficking.
Yes.
And that is a big problem in Beaufort County and in Jasper County, everywhere. It's a problem. How are you going to take, what kind of positive steps will you take towards not only the prevention of, human trafficking, but stopping the actual process, saving, whether it's one life or tons, especially women and children, saving those lives?
Right. Well, when I was sheriff, one thing we did, and I believe it's never been done before in Jasper County that I'm aware of, is we actually, we hosted, or we put on, if you will, a prostitution sting. It's the first time I can recall it ever being done. We called in some other counties for assistance, and we had a 2-day prostitution sting where we locked up nearly 30 people in 2 days. And it really focused on the Hardyville area, exit 5, close to the interstate there, next to the truck stops. And we really just tried to eradicate the problem, because of what we're seeing is the human trafficking. They're putting these young ladies into the prostitution part of it. Another big part is obviously making sure our officers are trained in that area, that when they see something, that they'll immediately recognize that there's a problem. And that training is going to be the biggest thing. But above and beyond all of that, the biggest thing that's going to help us is building that relationship with the county citizens, because they see things that we don't see. They hear things, they see the vehicles, they see the people, they see the odd behavior. And it's important that those that the citizens be willing to reach out to law enforcement, so that relationship has to be there. I remember when I first took office, about 19 days or so after I took office, we had our first homicide, and I pulled up, there was 20 people standing out there, and they wouldn't tell me a word because they didn't trust me.
Yeah.
But after gaining that trust, a couple years later, if something bad happened on the streets, I'd get a phone call before I ever left my house, before I ever got to the call, and they'd tell me who was involved, who committed the crime, because they trusted me. And we have to get back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, you probably don't know this. I worked and this isn't about me, but I worked part-time for a while for a law enforcement agency in Georgia over the past several years now, in 911 communications, suicide prevention, human trafficking communication, things like that. The entire topic or genre of that, it just not get enough attention. I mean, it is not a sexy topic. What can Jasper County Sheriff's Department do leading the way? As you are an entry point into South Carolina from Georgia via the I guess it's the biggest traveled highway in the Southeast. You're an entry point into the country, being across a short swim across from an ocean port. You're an entry point into the country from an international airport. What can we do to give this topic more attention and louder attention, as they say?
It has to be a relationship with your federal agencies. We are very limited with resources and manpower, and it's very important that we have that relationship, with the FBI, with the DEA, with Homeland Security, because they have the resources, they have the manpower, they have the money, they have all the things that it takes to accomplish the goal on a bigger scale. Mm-hmm. And it's so important that local law enforcement capitalizes on the ability to use the feds. Because, like I said, we can deal with it on a smaller level, but until we all work together, and I think that's one of the biggest common problems within law enforcement is everyone's doing their own thing, mm-hmm. and not everyone is on the same page.
Gotcha.
So not only locally, but also on a bigger scale federally, because we do have a major highway, we do have waterways, we do have all the entry points into Jasper County and to all of our local areas. It's very important that we work together.
With all of that, the attention and trying to prevent all of these sort of things, the prevention, the prediction. A part of this is as you are well aware of, is the political side of this. Unfortunately,
yes.
To some, it is, and not me personally, but this conversation to some people, some crowds, they're afraid that this could give a bad name to the area, or people aren't going to want to vacation here and spend some tax money if they know how bad, I don't know, the trafficking issue is, or how much dope comes across the river, whatever.
Right.
What do you say? And this maybe not as a politician, just Chris Malphrus. What do you say to people like that who either live with their head in the sand or stuck up a camel's ass?
The reality of it is, it's everywhere. It's all around us, and we can either take the necessary steps to prevent it and hit it head on, or we can stick our head in the sands and it overrun us and take us over. And I'm just one of those guys that, you do what you're supposed to do. You do the right thing and let the chips fall where they may. One
of the things that I know about you, and it's kind of funny, and you and I haven't talked today, but it's kind of funny because it leads right into what I'm getting ready to say. One of the things that I know about you, Chris, is that, and I've talked to some former employees of yours, you have always been known as a cop's cop. You lead by example. I've never had anybody say, you know what, he wouldn't go out there and do that, but he told me to do it. I've never, ever, because I have heard that from some, but not you. What's changed? It's been 4 years since you were at the sheriff's office, literally the sheriff's office.
Right.
What's changed in that 4 years? What do you need to do to get more officers on the road, more investigators working, and even the trust that you were talking about? What needs to happen to start building all that back up? It's not a quick fix, but right. I know you got a plan. I know you do.
Well, when I was in office, the biggest problem I faced was two things. One was the budget, and one was lack of support from my county council. Now, the county council has changed some, and I challenged them very heavily when I was there, and that didn't make me very popular at the time.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with that because I called it as I saw it. But the budget almost choked me to nothing. We were just ridiculously low budget. My budget when I went in there, I believe, was around 3.1, and when I went out was 3.9, and it went up about 800,000 in 4 years. The current sheriff, it's went up about 4.2 million in 4 years.
Went up more than you had.
Right. So, and that's one of the things that they ridiculed me on, is I spent over my budget. And I just explained to the council and I explained to the people that, hey, we can no longer operate at a higher level of law enforcement that you're asking for and that I'm giving you with the same budget. You can't have your champagne taste on a beer budget.
Right.
And they challenged me on that, and it was all audited, and it was all found to be absolutely spent on law enforcement needs, and not one red cent was spent sideways. So now that budget, and I believe that because of me jumping up and down and screaming from the rooftops that, it's hindering me and it's handcuffed me, so to speak, that they saw that and began to give the new sheriff what he needed, and hence the budget increase. However, along with the budget increase also has been a crime increase.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
As the budget went up, the crime rate spiked also.
I don't think it would ever be fair for some people to, if they've ever had this. I know I went on Beaufort County Council. I never had this opinion that, more money means less crime. Right. It doesn't work that way.
Well, and I've always said I'm a working sheriff. I'm a working person. I came from the streets. I came from what we call the road dog. Worked the road my whole career. Yep. And I worked the road while I was sheriff. I recall that we served, seemed like 100 narcotics search warrants. We physically kicked in 100 doors. Yeah. And I was at every single one, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I was out there with my people working 70, 80, 90 hours a week.
And that to me, that speaks volumes. I mean, that day at the folks listening, you don't know this, but the day at that center, the boys' home, it wasn't that I showed up in a coat and tie as a politician and whatever, and Sheriff Malphrus did not show up in a polo or coat and tie. I mean, he had road uniform on and a vest, ops vest. I mean, it looked like ready to go, attack somebody. You're a cop's cop. It's
well, you lead by example. And I'm currently the police chief in a small agency in Colleton County, and I work every day. I work a shift, and I write tickets and answer calls and work recs and all the things that I would expect my people to do. Good.
At one time, Chris, and we may have had this conversation before, but at one point in time, and this applies to whether it's the sheriff's department or Parks and Recreation or whatever, Jasper County was the redheaded stepchild of the Lowcountry.
Yes.
Specifically taking a back seat to Big Brother Beaufort County. My, how that's changed. That's changed in a lot of areas, many facets. I know you've got a good working relationship with all other sheriffs in the area and police chiefs in the Lowcountry and blah, blah, blah. But where and how can Jasper County Sheriff's Department lead the Lowcountry? Because it doesn't have to be because who's got the biggest dollars. I mean, Tanner has, I don't know, it's $100 million. I mean, it's some crazy amount of, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, you're going to have $4 million to start with, I guess. But it doesn't take the money to be the leader. No. What is it that you all have that can be a leader in law enforcement protection for the citizens, businesses, and tourists of this area?
There is not a whole lot of relationships built with the citizens. Back when President Obama was president, one thing he did that I like is he created the 21st Century Policing Task Force. And what that task force did, it come up with the 21st Century Policing Report. And what it did, it broke down 6 major issues between law enforcement and the community. And I believe if I were to do anything over again, or what I'm going to do better next time, that's to build a state of the art, above anything else, community team that we can build on.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that enforcement, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but enforcement comes natural to cops. But to let your guard down and build a relationship with your people in this is difficult for a police officer. And it is vital that we capitalize on that relationship. So you can be the best police officer, but if no one trusts you and no one is willing to give you information, no one's willing to side and partner with you, with the churches and with the people,
mm-hmm.
and you become a united group or a united front, it's just not going to work. And yeah, you cannot police your way out of the problems we're having in America today.
Mm-hmm.
You can't arrest your way out of what we're dealing with in
right.
America. It's a heart problem. And
mm-hmm.
until we attack that at its root and we build that relationship and we join hands, we can lock them up, and the justice
mm-hmm.
system's going to let them right back out, and we're just going to lock them up again. And their
yep.
heart and their decisions and their life decisions are never going to change.
Understood. You are in a primary come June 11th, I believe it is, and
That's
I have
right.
not spoken to your opponent. Hopefully, we'll get him on here if he would like to be. I want to ask you a question that I ask every politician, every candidate for any office that comes on here. And that question is, why you and not your opponent?
Well, for one, I have the trust of the people. I'm born and raised here. I already have an established relationship with 99% of the people here. I'm going to say 90%. Of course, there's a lot of folks that move here that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a proven track record. If you go on the SLED website and you begin to pull up the crime statistics for Jasper County, you'll see that before I took office, Jasper County was a very dangerous place. But those 4 years that I was there, the crime reduction is amazing. Our narcotics arrests went up 2,147%. And along with the drug arrests going up, your violent crimes plummeted. The sheriff before me had 42 or 44 homicides, and a very large portion, 30 plus, are still unsolved. I had 14 out of 14. I solved 11. And that is triple the national average of solvability when it comes to homicides. And I have a proven track record. I have a lot of executive leadership experience, and I know the budget. I know how you have to work with the county council. I know the job description of the sheriff. I know the ins and outs of every little thing that we're responsible for. Every time that someone new takes a position, it's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we should be in a state of emergency in Jasper County, and we can't afford the learning curve.
Right.
We have to hit the ground running. There's people, like I said earlier, there's people dying at a record number from overdoses. The drug problem is worse than it's ever been. Jasper County in 2021, after I left office, was deemed by SLED the most dangerous county in South Carolina. We had the highest spike in violent crimes at 67% in 2021. It's only continuing to rise since then.
And what year was that?
2021. The year after I left office. I left office January the 4th of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And the crime stats show on the SLED website that Jasper County was number one with the highest spike of violent crimes at 67% that year.
Would you say that the fentanyl, well, not just fentanyl, but drug, the drug part of violent crimes, when they're together, that tango, is that increasing together with regular violent crime rates?
Yes. As the drug problem goes up, so does the violent crimes.
Wow. Something that just dawned on me, and I don't know if they've done that over here where I live. I don't think so, but is it possible to actually get a Narcan, a device in every citizen's glove box? Is that a pipe dream, or is that something that's maybe doable with state or federal grants or something?
It is doable. I know in Colleton County, if I'm correct, you can go by the health department and they'll issue it to you. And we need that because the overdose rates are just tremendous. I think last year, if I can remember, Jasper County had 34 or 36, and Hampton County had 2. So if you're comparing size and population, we're closer to Hampton than we are to Beaufort, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you compare the two, which are very similar to a point, our overdose rate was tremendous compared to.
One last question. Do you feel that, I do know that the underworld, the criminal underworld, does talk about who's running the ship. Do you
Absolutely.
feel, I saw that down in Savannah, and it was quite interesting. Do you feel that the criminal underworld, and there is one, there's one everywhere, with Sheriff Malphrus back in the house, maybe we need to go somewhere else or spend a little time somewhere else? Do you feel like you would bring that kind of attitude back to the criminal underworld?
Absolutely. I had a drug dealer tell me when I was in office, he said, Sheriff, under the old regime, the deputies would ride by and toot the horn, and we'd be on the corner selling drugs, and we would throw our hand up and he would throw his up, and he would never slow down a bit. And he said, now we got to get real jobs.
Wow. That right there, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, how can people get in touch with you if they want to donate or volunteer or just check out Chris Malphrus?
You can obviously look me up on Facebook. My Facebook name is Chris Malphrus.
Okay.
We have Malphrus for Sheriff Facebook page.
All right.
You can send me a message on either one of those. We're having meet and greets throughout. Those things will be announced. I know this coming Saturday from 11 to 1, we're having a meet and greet inside Sun City, the Jasper side, the north side of Sun City.
Okay.
We'd love to have anyone who lives in the area or would like to attend to please show up. Lunch will be provided. And I'll give a breakdown, detailed plan of what I want to do and how I want to do it, and what we did before and what worked, and how we're going to implement those things again.
I will post that up here shortly. That's the Facebook page, Malphrus for Sheriff, correct?
That's right.
All right. My friend, best of luck to you. I hope you come back on here, whenever, wherever you want to. You have an open microphone here. Chris Malphrus for Sheriff Jasper County. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, sir.
Mike, thank you so much, buddy. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right. Chris Malphrus for Sheriff right here on the House of Cards.
Introducing to you. You're on House of Cards. Live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
I have, like I was saying a minute ago, let's change this over here. I've known Chris for a long time, and I wish him the absolute best of luck. Nothing taken away from his opponent. I don't know the gentleman. I hope to get to know him. I hope comes on here. But that is a class act right there. And it's true. He is a cop's cop. The criminal underworld, when they know that Chris Malphrus is on the job, they tend to go somewhere else. And the stories that I've heard over the years about, drugs being hidden in places in cars that nobody knew, and he went up to it and it's right there. It's amazing. Just amazing. All right. Our next guest is in the green room. I think he ate all of the brownies back there. Gosh darn it. What am I going to eat when I'm done? Man. Ate all the brownies, drank all the water and the sweet tea. I think he's jacked up like somebody, like a spider monkey on Mountain Dew. Do you know what movie that came from? Talladega Nights. That's right. All right. Anyway, he's been patiently waiting in the green room. Curator of the Overton Report, the #1 rated podcast right here on Big Patriot Radio for months now. He can also be found on Substack or in Substack or on Substack. I don't know which. Anyway, all across the social media platform, let's bring him on to the stage and welcome Corey Allen to the show. Corey, good afternoon.
Hey, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, how in the world are you, buddy?
Hey, man, it's another day in paradise. And, in our line of work, if somebody's not mad at you, you're probably not doing your job.
probably not doing your job.
You know what I'm saying?
Somebody doesn't say you're an asshole or what are you doing? You're killing
I'm
me.
telling
No,
you.
you're killing me. You're killing you. Kind of thing. Yeah.
Before we start, the AC's on. I'm gonna try and leave it on for right now, but there's not a hum or a shh in the back. Okay. I just wanted to make sure before we get into this. First off, before we even go anywhere, that interview with Mr. Malphrus, that was I really liked what he had to say. Especially on the front with opiates, fentanyl. For the people, I'm sure that some of the people that watch this know I'm a recovered opiate addict, and one of my, it's one of my biggest things because I, during COVID especially, the opiate, the fentanyl influx mixed with the shutdowns and the isolation caused, I mean, I can't tell you when I was from the just the place where I used to volunteer, the rehab facility that I went to and then volunteered to work at and did meetings and things, countless people that I met died in that 2-year period from overdoses, not knowing that they got fentanyl or going back out because of the isolation. It's a huge issue in all socioeconomic classes. And I think that it's very good that there are some people finally taking it seriously. So
I appreciate that. He's a class guy. And it's I've known him for a long time. It's one thing, there are some cops that I know that are called cop. They're a cop's cop. And they're like, Billy Badass. Chris is not like that. I mean, he's a cop's cop. He has it's unbelievable the stories that I don't know if you heard me talking about it, but I mean, I've heard stories about him walking around a car and everybody's like, no, there's no drugs. And he goes, it's right there. It's like, how did you know that? And, but he doesn't, with him, it's no big deal. It's not a personal thing, I mean, he's got, his story. I don't want to tell his story, but if you ever get to hear his story, he understands, I mean, there are problems just because, and this is something that, if you don't mind me saying this, when I have had people say, well, why the fuck are you hanging around Corey? He's a dope head. I'm like,
yeah, right.
Wait a minute. You know what? A, first of all, nobody's perfect. B, obviously he took care of his situation. That doesn't make him a bad person.
Right.
It's just a situation.
And that's the thing. I mean, there are consequences for actions, consequences that I dealt with.
Yeah.
And there are, there's a program, there are amends to be made, amends that have been made. It's a situation. We could talk about this all night, but it is a situation where it's like, so what you're really saying when you say that is, no matter what, when an addict gets clean or recovers and goes out and tries to help other people recover, no matter what, they need to be held in this lower status of society and should never, ever be able to overcome that. Like that's kind of weird to me. That's a very strange stance to have.
Let me tell you, that's going to tie into what we're getting ready to talk about here with Sandy Senn, in my opinion.
Oh yes, I think it will.
CJ Westfall. I mean, that's, you know what? Because I used to go to a church, and the preacher or pastor, he used to have this one saying that, man, I mean, it hit me because it just hit me. He said, you know what? I'm as jacked up as the next guy. Okay. I'm as messed up as anybody. And that's okay. It's okay. What's not okay is not knowing it and trying to change it. Okay. So if you're jacked up and you're not doing anything about it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm no better than anybody else. I'm just as jacked up as you or the guy walking down the street with his dog. Well, he's really jacked up. But I mean, anyway, that's aside the point.
It's an interesting situation. It's a very hypocritical one for sure. That's okay. I mean, that's something I've dealt with. It was, I think, like 3 months after the Overton report began was when I did my first live video telling people about my history, my past. Yeah. So if there's anybody out there who tries to use that against me and pretends like I'm hiding,
Yeah.
Basically, all of my skeletons are out on my front porch for everybody to see. And the people who like to use that against me, well, they're just still in their closet.
That's
Waiting to pop
those
out.
I feel for those people.
Yeah.
I feel for those people, because that's shallow. That's shallow. And speaking of shallow, we're just going to go right into it.
Let's do it.
Before you came on, very first segment of my show tonight, I played a little bit of a video from Matt Leber and Sandy Senn's latest forum that they had, debate, where he held up the diploma and CJ's I don't want to and she comes up and says all this stuff. So the point of where I'm going with this is this: Sandy Senn and her team are saying, this is my opinion, I guess, that because Leber did this or this or this or this, he is less than anybody else. He's obviously less than Sandy Senn and should not be part of the situation. So instead, or the conversation, instead of talking about shit that matters, taxes, roads, bridges, schools,
voting records.
I mean, take your freaking pick. Instead of talking about that, Sandy Senn and her team of bootlickers are going to start talking about divorce, college. I don't know. I get so wrapped up on it because Sandy, CJ, nobody gives a shit about that stuff. I don't care how many facelifts, Corey, that Sandy Senn has had. I really don't. I mean, I don't. I know some people do. Hey, I told earlier, you should have heard. I said, hey, sweetheart, I hope you stretch that face as far as it'll go. I mean, more power.
I heard it. I heard it. I was listening.
I mean, did I step out of line there?
No, I think it's.
I don't want to step out of line.
I think one of the things I always hear is what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? So,
I'm not making fun of her at all. I mean, I'm glad she can do that. If she did that, hey. You think
but the bottom line is who cares? Like, who cares? Like, this is the thing. And the reason why Sandy Senn and her left-leaning libertarian handler, CJ Westfall, the clown, de facto, a clown. The reason that they have decided to take this route from day one is because they don't have anything when it comes to voting records. Nothing, the only people that would be mad at Matt Leber's voting record, well, not the only people, but the only people that would compare Sandy Senn's voting record and Matt Leber's voting record and see Sandy as the better choice are Democrats. Those are the only people that would. Now, there are things that Leber's done, the Volkswagen deal, like I think you said earlier, cozying up to leadership and doing certain. I am no defender of the bad decisions that a legislator makes, or that he as a legislator makes. But this whole concept of well, there's a bitter ex-wife that we can get to say anything we want about him. Let's go that route. We don't need any evidence. We don't need any proof. We just need a bitter ex-wife who filed false charges that were then dropped. We just need that person to say these things. Okay. And you said earlier when you were talking about this the first time that they retracted they didn't retract anything about that. No, they deleted the ad from their Facebook. And then they said, the only thing that they said was, well, we got that letter and we just thought it was true. We had somebody vet it and it was real. So we ran with it. They didn't say we were wrong. They didn't say we apologize. They didn't say anything like that. Now they have people coming on my profile blaming the school. The school literally said, and there's an ad that she had that I have, I'll put it out, but they highlighted a certain portion of it. And it said he hasn't gotten a degree, blah, blah, blah. But then at the bottom it says, school records are not FOIA-able, basically implying that don't take this at face value. So but they didn't.
Are they saying that Sandy's private investigator or whoever, that's all false, that there's no way they got that information?
Well, the letter in the letter that they got from the school, it said, we have no record, or it was the registrar. I have no record of him getting this, blah, blah, blah. But we're talking about 23 years ago. Okay. And then it says, however, school records are not FOIA-able, right? Something to that effect. So it's like, it's one of those things where when you run a background check on somebody, and this is actually something this is why I know it was CJ that did this. When you run a background check on somebody on a third-party website, it says, don't trust anything that's here.
That's right.
It says, do not use this.
And I think it also has a little legalese at the bottom that says, I swear I won't be using this.
And that's why when Westfall a couple years ago, when I was volunteering to help Candace Jennings run against Robbie Robbins in a primary, he and his little friend put together a full dossier that had like 2 or 3 different people with my name in it and all of the things that they and I had done. He told people I was literally, how they say, man, they would accuse you of killing puppies if they could. He literally said that I did that to people. Like, they are liars. They do not vet. And that's the problem. We got a lot to talk about, but that's who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people who are more than willing to go with lies and unverified information if it benefits their cause or they're getting cash for it. And that's what it is.
I got a new video, found it. And I know earlier Matt Leber and his wife, I think, were both on here watching. So I do invite them to comment away if you'd like. But anyway, I got a new video that I found. So let's show this video. I don't think it's very long. We'll put this up here. And let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Let's play this.
Sitting right there and loves me dearly and knows that this stuff is false and wrote her a letter and begged her to stop.
Let me just start with pro-life. I cannot believe he said that. He tried to abort his own grandkid. Look at your phone. You have 2 grandkids. You have 2 grandkids. Well, look at her. I have a form right here. If he will sign it, I will get his DD-214, the true copy. But on his own Facebook, he says that he served 7 years, then he said 8 years, then he said 7. Have a form that you have to check, and it says whether you're in the armed services or not. Guess what? He was not. He was unemployed. He acts like he said after 9/11, he had to go in there like he was SEAL Team 6 or something. Simply not the case.
And there you have it.
Yeah.
You have it.
This is such a dangerous route to go down. And honestly, like, Sandy Senn and CJ Westfall are birds of a feather. They're both dishonest, disingenuous, liberal, progressives. They are. But when it really comes down to it, this is what happens when you allow dirty, unprincipled consultants to run the show, which we have done in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is really what we've done. Saying that he wasn't in the military, demanding that he sign a paper for her so that she could access his DD-214, that is disgusting. On its face, man.
And I honestly, I don't give Westfall the title of consultant. I don't think he reached that yet. I really don't. I mean, he's playing one, you know. You know what I'm saying? But look, it's something in that video that she said that really bothers me. The part about he said he would abort his grandchild. What is that about?
Do you want to know? I can tell you.
Yeah,
I know all about it. I was there at that event. So they had a video come out where there are two people who we don't know who they are, and their faces are blurred out. And you have one of those people saying he told his this daughter, who is actually not his daughter, it was his ex-wife's daughter from a previous marriage, not his daughter. And I guess 3 years after their divorce and 3 years after they were completely estranged, had not spoken, right? After this custody issue with the daughter who they did have together, who he has custody of, Savannah, the one that she belittled in that video earlier. They have them saying, they have one of those people with a blurred out face who nobody knows who it is. It's not the ex-wife. It's not the daughter. And they say, the person says, he tried to get her to get an abortion. That's literally the entirety of the claim.
That's what Senn runs on.
A person with a blurred out face who's not identified saying he did this. That's all it takes for them. That's all it takes. You know, I hold a higher standard. I don't know. I know you do.
What's rule 101 in journalism or reporting?
The New York Times does better than that.
Yeah, you got to verify. Verify.
It is unreal, man. And listen to this.
I was not aware of that. I was not aware of that.
Okay, you weren't aware of that. Just today, but that is what happened. And I'm sure that Matt would be happy to tell you more about it when he comes on your show. And I do hope that he and Sandy Senn come on.
I do look forward to.
So listen to this. This just happened about right before your show started, or as your show was coming on. Somebody who Sandy Senn was door knocking today, apparently. And somebody said, and I have permission to read this. So Sandy Senn just left my house in Johns Island. I asked her about the guy who got in Tyler's face. Now, if people don't remember, my wife was filming an altercation, and it was at that event that you just showed some clips from. And the guy was yelling at Tyler.
And was wondering if you ever figured out who that was.
So anyway, we'll get to that. But my wife was filming it at Henry's, the bar, where this a debate was held in Charleston. And the guy, it's Tyler Bessinger in the face, and the other guy's in his face, and they're just going back and forth. Yeah. And the guy like smacks my wife's hand, snatches a phone away from her, steals it, and runs away. Okay? So that's the backstory here. So Sandy Senn just left my house. I asked her about the guy who got in Tyler's face. She said, yes, she does know him. And that what I didn't know was that Mr. Bessinger and Mr. Overton are Proud Boys. So basically, here's what she's saying. Mr. Overton, of course, she doesn't even know who I am. So she called me Mr. Overton, I assume. So basically what she's saying there is, it's excusable for a man to assault a woman on video because her husband, who I don't even know, I have been told that he is part of some right-wing white supremacist group that was run by a black dude. So that's what she's saying. First off, that's false. I just want everybody, I've never been a Proud Boy. They showed up to an event that I did. There's a thing on it. We got clippings from that event. They showed up to an event I did. I'm not a Proud Boy. But she's willing to, you know where that came from? CJ Dipshit Westfall. That's where that came from. So that's how you know that this woman just spouts off whatever she's told without vetting any of it. That just happened today.
Wow.
So she's now slandering me on her door knocking campaigns.
Wow. And she's a sitting senator. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I said this at the beginning of my show, talking about decorum and stuff. She is a sitting senator. There is a robe of decorum that you need to behave as a senator, a member of the upper house, as it were. Knocking on somebody's door saying, yes, so-and-so and so-and-so are both Proud Boys, and that is not behavior becoming of a senator.
And therefore it's okay for my friend to assault one of their wives.
Yeah.
On film. That's excusable, but a bitter ex-wife making an accusation and then those charges being dropped, that's enough to discount somebody who's running against her in a primary. But her friend actually being filmed assaulting somebody, a woman, perfectly acceptable for her.
Has anybody been able to get any substance questions out to Sandy Senn during this brief campaign? You know, I mean, anything, whether it's gas tax or Second Amendment or, I mean, shit, go with abortion, you know, whatever. Has she ever answered anything of substance or only rhetoric?
So the only answers when you ask her things of substance, for example, they made it, they passed a law that would make it harder for, almost impossible for illegal immigrants to vote. She said, well, I did vote for that, but it is, that's not something that's ever happened or ever will happen. So it was a solution that didn't have a problem. When she was asked about the medical procedures on trans kids and medical procedures, including surgeries and hormone treatment and puberty blockers, she said, well, this only affects about 300 people. So it really isn't, it doesn't matter.
Let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about that for a second, because she answered that the same way. It was either the State or the Post and Courier. She said that this is a solution looking for a problem. She uses that a lot.
Yeah.
So and I remember watching that because I watch every single time, every day, all day. That's my life.
I know.
In the background. Well, for my real job. Anyway, back to the story. When I heard that, it made me think quickly, let's just say it's not a problem. Let's just say that, even though we know there's several hundred that are doing it.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's not a problem. Is it not wise to have laws in effect to prohibit that? Sandy, isn't your job to protect, prevent? Say it's a solution looking for a problem. I take that as offensive if I was in her district, I probably would have called her and said that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I take that offensive as a constituent. I don't know if others did, but
and that's kind of the thing, right? It's like it took one Ponzi scheme to create more laws about Ponzi schemes because of the potential damage it could cause. Nobody was sitting there saying, well, one person did it, but we don't need to make it illegal to do that. To Ponzi scheme shouldn't be illegal because we don't have any evidence that it's actually happening. Like that's an insane position to hold, right? And on top of that, I completely and wholly disagree that this grooming of children into becoming non-binary trans activists is somehow magically not happening. That's I see it every day. I see it every day. Not only in South Carolina, but also in South Carolina.
And for, if you and I see that every day, okay, a state senator doesn't see that, there's a problem.
Can't see what you're not looking for, though.
Yeah.
And that is who she is. She refuses to look at anything that does not already appeal to her sensibilities. That's who she is.
So we have given the the olive branch, the invite, the whatever you want to call it, multiple times. When I finally figured out that it was Westfall who was her handler or whatever, immediately went to him, and his answer to let's do a debate online. I mean, how friendlier can it get? No, that was his answer. No.
Yeah.
I went back and said, how about a 1-to-1, just me and her, and crickets. So. Yeah. Again, I know CJ is watching. I see his little name up there on my ticker.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Hey, CJ.
Hey,
CJ, the offer's still there. I mean, it's not, this isn't, I'm not going to bite her ear off. It's going to be a conversation. I'd love to have, her on one side of the screen and Leber on the other, and let me ask him questions. And, that's great. It's on TV, on the computer. It can't get any more, vanilla. Leber has already said, like, over and over and over, I'll do whatever it is you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. I have no reason to doubt that he's not telling me the truth. What about you, Sandy? What about you? But I don't want to talk about, Corey, I don't want to talk about Leber's divorce. I don't give a shit. I don't want to talk about Sandy's face, whatever you call that, surgery. I don't want to talk about Leber's college degree.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about her law office. I want to talk about what matters to the people of South Carolina. Let's save lives. Let's, cut taxes. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, you can't really do that because she voted for the gas tax. She voted for killing babies. She voted against open carry. So when those things are stacked upon each other, a very clear picture emerges. So the only way that people like Westfall, and this is what he's done to so many people, and I can't believe he found an ear with a sitting state senator. That's beyond comprehension to me.
Yeah.
That people would co-sign his bullshit to the extent that he gets there.
Yeah.
It's a despicable way to run a campaign. It's everything that's wrong with South Carolina politics. The lawyer legislators who have lawyers giving them $1,000 a pop through each of their businesses. They have 5 businesses. They write $1,000 checks from each of them, and their wife and their cousin and their aunt, filling her coffers, and that big money being used in order to slander, denigrate, ostracize, and then capitalize on those falsehoods or extremely manipulated situations. It's despicable. It happens throughout the state, but right here, this is a perfect example.
Yep. Wasn't she a supporter of what's the attorney? The disgraced attorney wanted to be a judge, and they finally were stopped.
Oh, yes.
What's his name?
Don't recall his name.
Anyway,
his name.
Was she a member of his camp?
Yeah, she actually tried to make a motion on the floor to get him through, even after it was but that was stopped. And, A.G. Wilson. There's a lot of weird stuff with that judge. A.G. Wilson supported him. It was an interesting situation. Yeah. But you would know that better than me. I did not watch a lot. James, is that it? James Smith.
James Smith. Thank you, Lee. Yeah. Yes, that was when that part of it came up. When they I probably shouldn't use the terminology, but when they cockblocked that, I was like, "Whoa, check it out here, boys!" I was like, "That's pretty cool," and it stuck out. It stuck out like a sore thumb. Those that were like scurrying like little cockroaches, trying to figure a way to get around this, and it's all everybody and they don't know what they're doing. It's all the staffers that are figuring this out.
Lawyers shouldn't be able to pick the judges that they argue in front of. It's a disgusting system that needs some real reform. And I bet you if we had enough money, we could pay CJ Westfall to agree with us.
Maybe. Maybe. Let me go check.
Ain't no maybe about it.
I may have. I don't know. I got
cash for principal. I got some silver on the back wall.
I'm not letting
you take an ounce or two.
I'm not letting go of that. Now, if you want to let go of it to me, I'll be glad to watch it for you.
Oh, I bet.
Let's move on to a different topic.
Yeah, let's do that.
And again, Matt or Matt's wife, I can't remember your name.
Michelle.
Yeah. Duh. You're more than welcome to hear from you. Love to hear from you. All you got to do is comment away.
Can I say one last thing before you do that? I just want to say this. Michelle and Matt both. There are few people that I have had more knocked down, drag out, screaming on the phone, debating situations and issues than with those two. We have disagreed vehemently on a number of things.
And that's okay. That's okay.
Well, it should be. And after all that, like this does not come from a place of shilling for somebody. Yeah. This comes from a place of right and wrong, and it speaks to a larger issue of incumbents, big money people, and unprincipled consultants doing really shady things in order to get the person paying them in office, rather than getting the best person in office available.
Amen.
That's all I gotta say.
Amen.
There.
That's why I think that Thomas Dixon and I really could be buddies.
Yeah, well, if only he was being honest.
That's another.
He has more in common with CJ.
Maybe you really haven't had an argument or debate with him, because he won't do that. I don't believe.
I want to so bad.
I would love to, but Anyway, there's a new story brewing out there. I'm going to let you take the lead on this. I'm going to pull up an article that was just released. You know a little bit more about this, and you're welcome to read what I've got. Let me pull this up here. Talking about.
So this article I have not read yet. I'm sorry to Lee on SC. It was sent to me.
Okay.
I have not read it yet, but I do know the baseline of everything that's going on and some of the details. And it's a pretty interesting situation. For sure.
Go keep going. I'll kind of turn the screen as you go down, but
you want me to read it?
That's up to you. I mean, you don't need to read it verbatim, but I mean, who are the players? Representative Chris Murphy, this Margaret Tolucci, who I don't know who she is, other than Murphy.
Margaret Tolucci is a woman who owns, on paper at least,
and this is her.
Yes, a recovery facility. A recovery facility that does not have an address and does not have a facility to speak of. Okay.
Problem one.
She does yoga. And when I say recovery, I mean drug recovery. Okay. And, there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking into here, but Chris Murphy, many remember, I spoke about this at length, state representative from down the street from me, not my district, but the one that's next to us. He missed a ton of votes in the 2020 to 2022 era. And he said that at the time, he said he had caught COVID, and then said that he actually had long COVID. Well, it turned out that what was actually going on was that he was battling with alcoholism and unwilling to be honest with his constituents, with his colleagues, with the public, with his family, etc. So it finally comes out that he has alcoholism, and he decides that he's going to go and go to rehab. That's great. And I said that at the time. But there are some questions on whether or not he actually did go to rehab. Then he represented this woman in divorce court, in family court, represented her. And then in the 2023 budget, he line itemed $250,000.
You see it right
which
here.
You can see right here. Yep, Maggie Tolucci. $250,000 to her Iron Wolf Recovery. And you can go to ironwolfrecovery.org and see they said that they needed $92,000 to pay the director of operations, which is her. They said they needed $58,000 or something like that. Yeah, here it is. For personnel and program manager. Don't know who that is. Volunteer coordinator, $40,000 for that. None has been hired. Contractual services, $65,520. Now, we have some evidence that states that shows us that the contractual services was actually her paying herself via another private contracting company that she bought, or that she ran and filed for. There's a lot of stuff here that I'm still working on to confirm. There's a lot of information here, but what we have here is alcoholic who's elected, lies, doesn't show up for work, then lies about why he's not showing up for work, then, which is addict behavior. I mean, there's nobody that's more capable of telling you what this is than I am. Okay.
I respect that.
I've worked with these people for years. I've been one of these people for years as well. Then when was found out, said he went to rehab. There are pictures of him in the Caribbean. So at the time that he was supposed to be at rehab, we're still working on all that. But then a person who he represented in court puts in for $250,000 of taxpayer money for a recovery center that, by all accounts, does not exist, does not accept anyone, does not have a board the way a board should exist. But her mom is a CPA, and her mom's address, her mom is important here because in her filings, she uses her mother's address as the address of her business. Okay. So, and Chris Murphy is the one who signed off on this appropriation and pushed it forward.
So I guess, and Lee Grenade just put up there that Lindsay Piper Loomis has more details on X.
You know, I like to verify my things by myself.
Yeah.
It's
And
important
so
to me.
I'm assuming that some of the implications, Corey, could be obviously collusion, not to use a widely used term, but ethics violations out the wazoo, possible, what's the word I'm looking for? Defrauding the government, embezzlement, I guess, to an extent. There's, has anybody said, Chris, you've done something wrong, or is this all just, it's coming out there now?
So it's, as far as I'm concerned, and look, I have found out about this and done some deep dives. I stayed up till like 4 a.m. this morning, just looking into all of these things. As far as I'm concerned right now, at the very least, Chris Murphy gave a friend who was a client $250,000 after that client either, and we will find this out, either did pay for his services or was unable to pay for his services in family court. So we've got, at the very least, not doing due diligence because it's your buddy and former client, and client putting in for this $250,000 in taxpayer funding.
And if anybody isn't quite clear, as I wasn't at the beginning, what you're talking about is she was going through a divorce. He was the lawyer. She didn't have the way of paying him, but all of a sudden he's putting in a request for $250,000 almost for her and an entity that doesn't exist.
Yes.
The cheese does smell bad.
It does.
The cheese. And it's not like this is like the first time any of this kind of shit ever happened in South Carolina, for God's sakes.
No, not at all. And I didn't know we were gonna talk about this. I want to say that there are things that may have been put out there yet. And like I said, I haven't, Lee, I'm sorry, I haven't actually had a chance to really go through your article. But there are things that there's information that I have that I'm not yet comfortable putting out myself, because I want to be 100% correct in this, because it's such an important situation. If what I believe to be true is true, this is representative of one of the biggest scandals that I can imagine in South Carolina politics when it comes to dirty money, money laundering, and it's especially close to my heart because it involves defrauding the recovery community. These people are trying to save their own lives, and you're willing to take money from the government that could have gone to legitimate recovery communities that actually save people's lives, and you don't even have an establishment. You're running this out of your mother's home. That's very disturbing to me. So Chris Murphy, man.
More to come on that. Stay tuned to Corey Allen and the Overton Report, Lee Grenade, Lee on Substack. Obviously, Lindsay Piper Loomis on X. They're all dealing it, and I'll just report whatever I see. It is 8:35, 25 minutes before the top of the hour.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. News, country pop, and classic rock.
Anyway, let's keep this train going, big guy. Sure. Changing subjects on you here.
Okay.
And folks, I didn't tell him what we were going to talk about tonight. Other than we did talk about
the Sandy Senn Matt Leber primary. That was all I knew about.
Everything else, it's like potluck dinner.
Let's rock and roll.
So the second course, we talked about an embarrassing situation happening inside the GOP conventions here in South Carolina for national delegates. We've talked about it. You've talked about it. It's been all over the place. Well, that story is continuing to get even more outlandish, interesting, disgusting, perverse, subverse. I mean, fill in the blank, whatever you want to call it. So where do we start? Let's talk about a recent GOP. And folks, thanks to technology, we even have some audio for you tonight. At a recent Beaufort County GOP meeting where State Executive Committee woman Jodan Lee stood up to give her report. That's right. She was to give a executive committee woman's report of what's been going on. Not her opinion, not her feelings, none of that. A report. Instead, she gave her public endorsement of Catherine Templeton, and I'm not bashing Catherine Templeton. She gave her reasons why she is a self-admitted rhino. She's a proud rhino, she says, and even gave new meaning to the acronym for it all. The main thing she said that was the perverse, subversive language, the message rather, here's what it was. Pay attention, everybody. Do what I say. Vote the way I tell you, because that's the way I say it is going to be. And if you don't, then you are just a dissenter and an anti-Republican. That is what Jodan Lee's message is. So what do you say, Corey? We let's
first I'd like to say that sounds like something that would come out of Xi Jinping's mouth directly.
Well, that's
I'm not just saying. I'm not putting it. I'm just saying.
You got a give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. Sorry, we'll try to play this along.
I can't say enough about you guys. We have done so much good work together, so that's why I want to say thank you. We have wins in November. Second thing.
We'll stop this every once in a while.
Second thing I have to say, according to the BCRP rule, I have to disclose that I am supporting Catherine Templeton for the congressional race against Nancy Mace in the Republican primary. We truly need a conservative who has delivered results instead of somebody who flip-flops just for the TV fame. That being said, here's my slides.
So let me pause it there. So what this is a executive committee woman's report. Now,
a state EC.
State EC.
That's right. That's even more important.
So Beaufort County Republican Party rules were changed last year, okay, because they changed the rules because we caught them what's it called? I'm losing my mind. Supporting candidates before a primary.
Yeah.
When there was more than one of the same flavor. Anyway, so they changed the rules that says, the chairman of the party can do it as long as he notifies the executive committee and they in writing and they approve it and vice versa. So that rule was instituted so she didn't get in trouble last year. Well, and that's her snide little comments about doing it this year. Just because it's in the rules doesn't make it good. And, I'm here to tell you, if you are a county chairman, a state chairman, a county executive committee person, she made her claim going for Catherine Templeton. And again, this isn't about Catherine Templeton.
No.
Before the ink dried on Catherine Templeton's notification of filing, ink hadn't friggin' dried. And she was out there saying, this is who I'm voting for. She is making it well known that if you don't vote for Catherine Templeton, she will do what she has to do to destroy you. And that is just wrong. This whole thing is wrong, what she's just talking about.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that we're actually talking about this because I think there's been a lot of mischaracterization of my beliefs by people who won't refuse to even talk to me. This thing, Rule 16C, I 100% fully believe should, and I've argued this for years and attempted to argue against the South Carolina GOP and its officers for years, that it should preclude any officers from throwing their support behind a primary candidate at all. It should not be allowed. We have, in my area, we have a chairman who is actually paid to work on primary campaigns within his own county that he is a chair of. That is despicable to me, and this is an example of that. And I would argue that that rule was put in because of the work that I've done trying to get clarification on Rule 16C to preclude elected officers from throwing their weight, financial support, and endorsements into primaries. Absolutely. So I think that's why that happened. In Charleston, for example, you can't do it. You can't. No elected officer can can publicly endorse, especially not in their capacity as an elected officer. So what we have here is Xiaodan throwing her support behind a primary candidate in her speech, in her report, as an official. I mean, this is the thing. We've got both sides of this factional war trying to argue that everything should be up for grabs. And my being consistent on this issue has caused me to be just lambasted. So I disagree with what Xiaodan did. In my Republican Party, that would be grounds for removal. Immediately vacate your position.
And the unknowns, I've had people say, Covert, she didn't say if you don't vote for her, I'm going to. No, she doesn't have to. The weight of the office, being the state EC, just the weight of that office carries that unspoken word. And that's all I need to say.
Yeah,
So,
and she was speaking on behalf of the officer's report.
Absolutely. Let's keep going.
Sorry, I can't find the other theory though. Thank you. Yeah. So I just want to go through quickly the state and CD1 convention. So every year, every presidential election year, the congressional district and the state's GOP would hold conventions to elect delegates to attend the RNC convention to formally cast ballots for Trump as the Republican Party's presidential nominee. South Carolina is allotted 50 delegates, 3 automatic, 3 from each of the 7 congressional districts, and 26 at state convention. What should be a procedural voting event turned into a circus? When the most consequential election in our lifetime is...
Now pay close attention to the words she uses and the phrasing she uses to say them. And folks, if anybody's out there saying, oh, she's not from here, she doesn't know, don't give me that bullshit. Just listen.
Less than 6 months away, when our party needs to focus on growing precinct participation and turnout votes in November, we are facing a civil war, just like Weston described. Some people are more interested in making their points instead of winning. Unfortunately, it's a nationwide phenomenon. What did I do? I did, right? Yeah, so this is a nationwide phenomenon. It's reported in Arizona, Michigan, and even Oklahoma. Splinter groups target anyone who does not subscribe to the political agenda by circulating enemy lists, engaging in character assassination by falsely slandering their opponents.
Now, let me hold that right there. So she is now taking a page out of not only the Communist Manifesto, but taking a page out of the Democratic playbook of saying one thing and doing it at the same time, but telling you there's nothing to see here. That's what she's doing.
orchestrating chaos at conventions and engaging in lawfare against members of their own party. Here in South Carolina, we have the so-called American First groups telling their supporters, this is a quote, "This war is being fought not against the Democrats, but against the rhinos." This is what they're being saying. So who are the rhinos? Anyone who disagrees with them. They claim that we are the Unity Party because South Carolina keep on electing Lindsey Graham and his teammates to offices.
Now, hold that right there for a second. Now, what you just heard 2 years ago and 4 years ago, she completely said the other thing. Talking about Donald Trump, she would not say that she is in favor of Donald Trump. She actually said to Nancy Ross here in the Beaufort County Republican Party, she said, we'll wait and see if that's the hill we want to die on. Now, all of a sudden, she's licking the boots of Donald Trump. And again, the undertone is, if you don't do what I'm telling you, I will get rid of you, as she has said to a Beaufort County council member who she's trying to get rid of. Let's keep going.
They didn't complain a single bit about Nancy Mace today not being here at our meeting while she's using our taxpayer dollars to do another meeting in Beaufort. They're not complaining about that. So therefore, it's time to call them out. It's time to restore unity. It's time to focus on what we all signed up to do as volunteers, to elect Republican nominees and to take our country back in November. What does that mean?
That just walked out. Yeah.
What does that mean? That means
Listen to
support
this coming
the
up.
Republican platform. What that means? It means follow President Trump and the newly elected REC leadership to get out the vote, to go early voting in person, to legal ballot harvesting, and to start a legal lawfare against any cheaters, especially in swing districts, swing states. This is what we have been doing, Kevin and I, for more than 2 years now.
What she just said was her and Kevin have been doing this.
Either you change the laws like what we did in South Carolina, or when you play the cards you're dealt with better than the Democrats do. So whatever the shenanigans going on, we gotta stop. We have the most consequential election in our lifetime in November. If we are called rhinos, out of order, because
Check this.
order. If we are called,
Absolutely.
This is a report and it's
That ain't no report.
It is a speech. It is a personal speech, and she is attacking people in this room.
This is one of the EC county
And that is
ECs.
not. I disagree with her.
disagrees with you.
And she has a bully pulpit.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm proud to be a rhino. To be honest with you, I'm proud.
She's proud to be a rhino. She's about to tell you why. And she is changing the, what do you call it? What each letter means in the acronym there.
I'm proud to be an American.
Okay, so the reason I'm proud to be a
Now,
rhino.
now I'm gonna call a point of order, which is, this will continue.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'm only supposed to be speaking to the chair, and you spoke.
No, I'm
and I'm
supposed to
answering
call-
back. I'm going to go ahead and sit down
I
again.
am supposed to call points of order. Please sit down.
I would have told him to
Thank
kiss my ass.
Thank you. So I'm proud to be called a rhino. The reason I'm proud to be a rhino is because I believe rhino stands for Republican, intelligent, normal, obviously sane. Thank you.
Those applause scare me.
So yeah, let me tell you, this county is in bad shape. It's getting better.
It's faction versus faction, man, and it's a shame because there's so many people at the leadership of each of these factions that are just terrible, self-seeking, self-indulgent, clout-chasing hypocrites. And that's destructive to the normal people in our party, and it's a shame.
Absolutely. So, where was I? Anyway, we were saying it is sad. We can say it's sad. It's funny, but sad. Some people can't see the forest through the trees, as it were. When people, anyone tell you to do something, but you do something different, and they all of a sudden have this apoplectic reaction, that is a problem. When people tell you to do something a certain way, they themselves turn and do the exact opposite. And then when questioned, they try to put it back on you that you're crazy. We've both seen this, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Both done this. They said, you're crazy. You're wrong. That's evil. That is evil. That is, and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is communist type tactics that are fully explained in the manifesto. Boink.
It's definitely, I would say it's definitely a collectivist point of view, but I'd say it's more revolutionary. It's more Bolshevik than anything. There's a lot of join me or else going on. Join me, not what we believe, not stand behind the principles. It's stand behind this person or else. No matter what this person does, you must never speak against them. You must never question that person, or else you will be attacked, ostracized, denigrated, slandered. And that's everything that, I mean, it's literally the tagline of the Overton. Principles over personalities. And I don't know how many times I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, man. You can back a person, but if you're not holding yourselves to the same standard that you hold the people that you hate, then you're worthless to me. To me, you're worthless.
Oh, that's the whole rules for thee, but not me. And let me tell you,
it's a very simple concept.
When you see that tagline in the dictionary, you see a picture of Jordan Lee and Kevin Henley. They're right there. Rules for thee, but not me. And they change the rules as time goes along. I put a thing up here by Helga. Great listener. Good to see you. I'm a normal people, and I know what she means by that. And she was in this last audio. She was there rather. This is, this type of behavior it's over and over and over and over. They keep pressing. So we're going to move to a different meeting now.
Okay. The EC meeting, the special called EC meeting to remedy the situation with the District 1 chair.
Right. So supposedly 5 people, and that's all it takes to call this meeting, called this meeting of the state executive committee men and executive committee women in the first congressional district.
And Mike, while you explain this to people, I'll be right back in just a second.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's the executive committee of the first congressional district, and the chair elected at the convention was a lady by the name of Cynthia Jones out of Charleston. Vice chair was a gentleman, I think he's also out of Charleston, maybe Somerville, James Lee. So apparently, as is usual and customary with some call it elitist leadership, not everyone was invited. Okay, not everyone was allowed into the meeting. Obviously, I've got a copy of this meeting, and I could hear people in the background with the person that was on the phone that I have access to, that they weren't allowed. They're supposed to be in the meeting. They were the secretary, I believe it is, of the group, the first congressional district executive committee, Anna Marie Blevins, and she was not allowed into the meeting. The James Lee, who is the first vice chair, was never sent an invite to it. And this is what they are saying. So not everyone was invited. Not everyone was allowed in. We're going to play some excerpts from this meeting as well. The people you're going to hear, the personalities that we're getting ready to hear, you're going to hear, again, Congressional District 1, first vice chair, James Lee. He is the loudest voice, the clearest voice you'll hear. Anna Marie Blevins in the background. She's I believe, the secretary. Terry Hardesty, you'll hear him. He's an old fart, with a gruff voice.
He's a state EC from Berkeley.
State EC from Berkeley, former chair.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear Victoria Cowart. She is the Berkeley County GOP chair. She's at the end of it. She kind of just takes charge and turns the meeting over to Stephen Wright. I'm not sure what his job is.
He's the Dorchester County chair, and working on Sandy Senn's campaign.
And you'll hear from Jodan Lee speaks up a little bit. Yep. Kevin Henley, the Beaufort County chair, you'll hear his voice and a couple of things, and they pretty much tell him to shut up and sit down. Then there's a couple of folks who I'm really not sure exactly who.
I think Andrew Boucher, the Charleston chair, was also on it.
All right. Yeah. So the first 10 minutes or so of this is just waiting for people to get on there. So I'm going to start playing that. I'm going to fast forward it to get into some of the meat of the meeting, and we'll tell you who's listening.
Well, wait, before you do that, I don't know if you did this. Do people know what this is regarding?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so to the best of my ability to explain this is so Cynthia Jones out of the Charleston area was elected, I think she won by 2 votes or something like that for the chair of District 1. Now, what is the role of the chairman of a district? A congressional chair of a congressional district is to call the meeting 4 years from now during the presidential election. So she won that by a couple votes. The person who nominated her was one of the 3 who donated to RFK while he was running as a Democrat, and therefore vacated his seat as a delegate under Rule 16C's interpretation, as interpreted by the Rules Committee, State Rules Committee. So what the state then said was, because the nomination came from somebody ineligible to make that nomination, the vote was null and void. Therefore, we need you, the executive committee, the chairs, the 5 people who called this EC meeting, to call a meeting so that a remedy can be discussed and decided, whether or not to hold a new convention, whether or not the state ECs should elect, whether or not the ECs within the district should elect, etc. So this was to remedy the situation because the state ruled, and I have a lot of problems with this, ruled that election of Cynthia Jones as null and void because the person who nominated them was an ineligible delegate and therefore ineligible to nominate. That's the convoluted situation here. Tried to simplify it as much as I can.
You nailed it. Here we go.
Not received a resignation letter from Cynthia Jones, nor has she moved out of the district.
And I was corrected.
And that's Cynthia in the background.
Okay.
And say something. And I want to speak for a minute. I don't want to be interrupted.
That's Terry Hardesty.
Okay.
His body is not in order.
That's Jim Lee.
Not been called to order.
You've been talking a lot. Is it okay for me to speak for a minute or 2?
Who's speaking? Because I can't see who is there.
It's Terry Hardesty.
Okay, Terry.
Okay. The first congressional district is under the auspices of the South Carolina Republican Party and is overseen by the State Executive Committee. The State Executive Committee has duly authorized a Rules Committee. They have been voted on. They meet on a periodic basis over rules, and they make decisions of whether rules have been violated or not. That's the way that we have operated for decades.
The Rules Committee, Terry, does not have decision-making authority.
I don't want to be interrupted by you in an argument.
That took 22 seconds, Lee. Jim, you didn't let him speak for 22 seconds before interrupting him. If we're going to be people here trying to have a meeting and hear one another, this needs to stop.
Go ahead, Terry.
As I said, the Rules Committee meets under the auspices of the South Carolina
I have them pulled up as well.
We actually kind of operate by rules. Because when we operate by rules, we don't run into problems. And we had a rules issue, and the person that was nominated at the convention was not qualified because the person who nominated her had vacated their position. So the rules committee met and declared her the position vacant because her election wasn't valid.
Was her?
They could have said I won.
May I ask a question?
They could have said I won, but they didn't do that. They actually have ruled. The proper ruling is that the chair position is vacant.
No.
Was the nomination seconded?
Doesn't make any difference.
Yes, it does.
It does if the person who seconded is a valid delegate.
You want to go back and litigate what the rules committee has done. And this is not the place to do that. If you want to do that at the executive committee meeting, at the next executive committee meeting.
Did the state executive committee meet and make a decision based on the recommendation of the rules committee? Because the rules committee does not have the authority to exercise that opinion. It's a recommendation to the executive commission.
We the people vote.
Jim, I'm on the rules committee. You are correct. We don't take action. We make recommendations.
Right.
I'm not sure who that is.
It's Stephen Wright.
Okay.
We are acting in response to the recommendation of the committee.
Okay, and your recommendation, Stephen, is it to the South Carolina GOP Executive Committee or to the 1st Congressional District Executive Committee?
The 1st Congressional District Executive Committee.
Thank you for clarifying that. So this is a meeting of the 1st Congressional District Executive Committee. And that committee needs to make a decision as to whether or not to accept the opinion of the Rules Committee.
You got the phone on and you got the TV on, or the computer on. I think that was Joe Callahan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, Joe.
All right, so we've established that this is a meeting of the 1st Congressional District Executive Committee, and it was a special called meeting.
Oh, wait. Joe, if you can mute. Are you and me in the same room, Joe? Yes.
I'm muted.
Okay, that's what's going on.
That bugs the living daylights out of me.
What?
And
People don't know
Victoria,
how to
just
mute
be clear, my
themselves.
name is Jim Lee, is my last
It's
name.
because they got multiple computers on the person recording, so it keeps going into feedback.
I mean, I'm old and I know that.
Special called meeting of
You
the
work in
1st
radio.
District Executive Committee has been called.
I agree, though.
Wasn't called by the chairman. It had to have been called by 5 or more of the 1st Congressional District Executive Committee members. Who were those 5?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a matter of record.
Chairman that make up
But
the 1st Congressional District.
No, there's
There are 6 counties, so which
okay, 5 of the 6. Sorry, it's just irrelevant.
to think about.
That's why nothing gets done.
Yep.
There only needs to be 5. Only needs, yeah.
Well, I realize that, but you're saying it was all of the county chairmen, so, okay.
Yes.
Yes, so who?
That's
who
Kevin
were the 5
Henley.
people?
Me, Victoria, Kevin, Andrew, and Miss Wilder.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's 4.
And did you notice? Mhm.
I didn't.
Go ahead.
This is Paula Tisdale, Policy County. I just want to ask a question. I mean, I'm still learning. Thank you for letting me before the phone. It just seems like it would be appropriate under the circumstances of everything that happened. Could it be called another district-wide congressional meeting so that people can vote again?
You could. Costs a lot of money.
So she's going to get poo-pooed here. Let me send this a little bit forward, get more out of it.
That was at a convention. This is not a convention. This is a meeting, a special called meeting of the 1st Congressional District Executive Committee.
And this meeting can elect somebody to preside over it.
You cannot usurp the authority of the officers who were elected by the body that put them in place.
You cannot usurp the authority of the South Carolina Republican Party Executive Committee, which is what you're trying to do.
No, I'm still waiting to see any evidence that the South Carolina GOP Executive Committee ever met and voted to vacate the chairman of the 1st Congressional District.
Never. Can I Mr. Boucher is recognized. Thank you. The Rules Committee does not go to a vote of the State Executive Committee, but the Rules Committee ruled that it's a self-executing rule. That's correct. It immediately invalidates the election of the chair.
That completely counters what Mr. Wright just said.
Ineligible, I have the floor, and I'm going to ask the chair if we need to do disciplinary procedures.
Oh, Jesus.
That is a self-executing rule. Thus, the election is invalid automatically. It does not require a vote of the State Executive Committee.
As a point of order, I would point out that that is not the case here. So it's moot. Mr. Wright pointed out that the Rules Committee does not have the authority to execute, only to recommend.
The Rules Committee interpreted Rule 16 to determine that it is.
Rule 16 doesn't apply here.
Rule 16 does not apply here.
Self-executing to the nominee, to the person who nominated.
16 at all.
And that, therefore, the argument is, makes the nomination null.
This is a special called meeting of the 1st Congressional District Executive.
They're fighting over.
It's convoluted, but
who's going to preside? In my opinion, it should be the first vice chair.
It's to be presided by the chair of the.
If there's no question about the first vice chair's nomination,
Which is this guy right here.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't.
The chairman, the first
recall any issues there.
Over the meeting.
So yeah, I agree.
That's what he's saying right now.
They should preside.
Victoria doesn't want that.
Under the rules of the SCGOP, it says until a duly elected chairman is elected, that the chairman should stay in his post. So we do not have a duly elected chairman.
We elected one at convention.
And no.
We have a chairman who is not speaking. We have a chairman who is in his post, and under the rules, says the chairman should stay in his post.
No appeals.
Until we have a duly elected chairman.
That's the EC from Charleston, by the way. Dennis Brown.
You automatically vacate your position under the rule. We have another rule that says that we have no chairman, that the past chairman stays at the helm until the chairman is elected. So it's not the vice chairman. You sit at the head of the table. And so we have a duly elected chairman. Our current chairman is Terry Hurst.
No, the previous chairman was Peggy Banger.
Actually, that's correct, Jim. I was elected temporary chair by the executive committee.
When did that occur?
That was a convention.
Prior to the convention, you were on this committee.
Of the convention only, of the convention.
I'm sorry. When did?
Anybody was in that meeting, am I incorrect?
Of the convention.
No, you were very correct. You were very correct. You were elected.
When did that meeting take place?
It doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference.
Pause this. Pause this.
It doesn't make any difference.
Basically, this goes on, and this is what I'm talking about, man. The only thing discussed in this entire recording is who's going to preside over the meeting we're talking about.
Yeah, that's it.
And this is a perfect illustration of two factions who refuse to give any ground because they're both interested in holding power. by any means necessary. No, neither will give any ground at all. It is absolutely 100% correct in my belief that the rules say the vice chair should cover the meeting. This group won't do it. At the same time, the other group will not recognize, and I think that this is something that's kind of important to point out. The other side, Jim, won't recognize or refuses to accept that Cynthia, her nomination was null and void, and she is present. You hear her on the tape. She is there. So there's a situation there as well. But this is whereas she's present, he doesn't recognize that she is not valid. Therefore, in his mind, she should be chairing the meeting, but he's also arguing for himself to chair the meeting.
Right.
While they're arguing, so there's it's
far.
just a bunch of convoluted nonsense.
One thing that Helga put here, I have to disagree with this one, because you can only be nominated by one person. There may be two people who said they wanted, but only one person can nominate you or put a motion on the floor.
That's correct.
It will be done by one.
If I make an invalid motion and you second it, the motion is still invalid. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm out of order as the person who nominates and you second it,
So it is a complete fustercluck.
It is.
The powers are fighting. Terry Hardesty is, I don't know whatever, I don't know what crawled up his ass and turned sideways, but the man is a sourpuss. A cantankerous old fart, and he's been that way for years. I don't know. But anyway, that is what's going on there. That saga is not to go away any time soon. Faux show.
I also want to point out, but real quick, that all these appeals are being made and refusing to accept as far as the delegate situation is concerned. I really hope that people go to the RNC rules and understand that if this reaches that level and they continue down that road, then all but 9 of our delegates will be completely refused from the RNC, and the RNC's delegates will take all of their places. That is a rule in the RNC. So I think that and also I talked to one of the chairs involved in District 1, and they told me that they, in writing, asked the state party if they could ignore this nomination nonsense and allow Cynthia Jones, allow that to stand. And the state party absolutely refused. So I think that that's an important thing to point out, that it seems, and I'm still working on verifying all that, but this person has never lied to me in my life. And I verified everything he's ever said, or that person has ever said. And that, I think that matters, that this is something that District 1's chairs and ECs, and I'm not saying that some of them aren't enjoying this tremendously, because I do believe that like Jaldan and Kevin and some of the others are definitely enjoying this, but I know that at least one of them asked the state party, like, can we just ignore this and let this person be, because this is causing a bunch of unnecessary nonsense. It doesn't matter. And they were like, no, you have to call this meeting. You have to remedy this situation. It has to happen.
So the rest of the tape is, it's pretty mundane. It's all the same argument over and over, except for one old guy. I don't know who the old guy is, but one old guy speaks up and he says, I've had it with this bull crap. You want people to join the party? Who the hell is going to join this fucking party? Yeah. We can't. And he's right. Yes, I know you heard it. The guy was spot on. Why would somebody want to join when you all of them act like a bunch of morons?
Absolutely.
They act like a bunch of freaking morons.
And when you join, you are expected to join a faction. That is specifically the reason that I have refused to actually join as a member, run for precinct president or any office, because it is I have to stay 100% objective to the best of my ability, and jumping into that clusterfuck, it's useless. It's useless. And those people, but also people need to understand, those aren't the people that make the decisions, right? Those aren't the people who vote, right? They're not the people who go out and pick the candidate. We have that power, and we can work outside of that obviously self-destructive system. We can affect change without them. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
All right. So we'll, and yes, Ivy, it is, I appreciate that. It is embarrassing.
It is
very. And Helga, I appreciate everything you've done. I'm hoping Helga gets up there in the chairmanship one day.
I know she's a little mad at me. For
obviously, clarify on both
positions.
sides. Yes, it is both sides. Absolutely. I'm not picking one side at all.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, and you and I, we had not an argument, but we have differing opinions, which is perfectly okay. I presented the side of both of them are wrong. Well, what sides are you talking about, Mike? You got these factions, as Corey said. You've got the GOP, and you got the my SC GOP.
Correct.
Now, there are some who are, they call themselves America First, and I'm proud to wear that aren't part of the my SC GOP, which I am not. I think the my SC GOP, quite frankly, its leadership is hocus pocus. But what they did was wrong. What some of the GOP did was wrong. They're both wrong. It's embarrassing on both sides.
And they're both seeking power for its own sake. That's it. That's all it is.
It's terrible. Anyway, let's go forward. We're running out of time. We've been working with others investigating Beaufort County scandals. Go figure. And that's plural. We've been working on a lot of stuff, Corey. Things ebb and flow depending upon the time of year, it seems. Who's been hired, who's been fired, who thinks they can hire or fire, kind of like the GOP. And I'm sure the Democrats do the same thing. Well, we received a letter in the mail recently. It was a copy of a letter.
You are ambushing me with all of this stuff. I had no idea.
About this, man. Well, keep you fresh. I got to keep you,
I need to be on my toes, man. This is what I love.
That razor edge.
That's right.
Got a copy of a letter sent to me. Obviously, it wasn't no return and sent, came out of Charleston or something. Anyway, it was a copy of a letter to the Island Packet editor about ethics questions and questionable management styles of Beaufort Assistant County Administrator Jared Fralix. Got this just the other day. So I'm going to put this letter up for you folks to see as I talk about it here. Bear with me a second. This is one of those pictures that I have to... do you see that up on your screen at all?
No, sir.
No. All right. Why does it not come up? Why does it not come up? Oh man, I hate it when I do this.
Is there a share screen?
Well, that's what I'm on. Let me think here. If I do that, you see the whole thing. How about now?
Yes.
All right. And
expand it.
Well, that's the wrong one.
Oh.
So hold on.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on, uno momento.
What's that file that says Illuminati?
Hey.
Bro, what's going on here?
Illuminati. Now I forgot the friggin' name of the file. It was an image. Where is it at the beginning or the end? Is it in I or where? Come on. Image. And of course now I can't find it.
Oh, I messed you up.
Son of a biatch. Let's see. This is 2024. I think it's this one. Nope. It is that one. Do you see it out there?
Yes.
Does it say Brian Tolley?
Okay. President and editor.
All right, perfect. So we get this letter. This is a copy of the letter. This is it. Not making this up. This is where it came. And in this letter, let me pull the exact copy here while I'm talking to you folks. It talks about, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. If you want a copy, I'll be glad to send it to you. But it talks about, this person who's writing this is saying, hey, I've got concerns about what's going on. I got concerns, but hey, I'm an employee of Beaufort County and I got to look out for my family. And his lack of management skills for this Jared Fralix guy. Now he's an assistant county administrator. He's in charge of like engineering and public works and stuff. This person goes on to say, there's a lack of personnel management. And it goes on to spell out in this paragraph here what exactly this person means. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Still see it?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Fralix, let's see here. Let's go down here. In this letter, this person, whoever it is saying, basically Fralix is allegedly ethically corrupt and has no business being an assistant county administrator, and that he's, quite frankly, killing the county. The letter alleges Fralix allowed a gentleman by the name of Neil Desai, who was
whistleblower.
Hold on one second here. What is going on? Bear with me.
Sure.
We've got computer problems going on.
And is this assistant county administrator appointed? Who appoints them? Is it
the
board,
administrator.
Okay. Oh, I see.
The administrator.
Just a hired position like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So anyway, I don't know what's going on with my computer over there. Something wacky. Talks about Neil Desai, and there was a problem. He couldn't manage him and didn't manage him. Actually, Neil Desai left the county engineering department. He or she talks about an employee named Brittany Bishop, I guess, who has a function in her role autonomously, like unsupervised. Goes on to talk about, this person, may even need a drug test done, which is, that's pretty ballsy to go out there and say that.
I feel like isn't that a standard thing though? Did they not do that in Beaufort County just standardly?
I think so. Should be. I don't know.
Definitely be.
Do you see the page changed?
Yes.
Okay. It talks more about, he was an engineer in Colleton County. There were some problems that this person knows about. He worked with one firm, worked with the county or for the county, gave some business over here, folks, stuff that we've been talking about for 2 years now. The right hand is rubbing the left hand and the pocket in the back gets filled up. That kind of stuff is what this person's talking about. What gets good is at the very end of the letter. Why is there a question about retaining Mr. Fralix's employment with Beaufort County? Others have been fired or terminated of their employment with Beaufort County for much less. And that was the
exposure.
End of that.
I think the reason is exposure. Exposure and friends.
So
it needs more exposure.
What they're saying, though, is that you fired Eric Greenway.
Mm-hmm.
You fired Shannon Loper, which I think that's the two they're specifically talking about, but you're not firing this guy. Now, this week we had the Beaufort County Chief Financial Officer, Denise Christmas, up and quit.
Oh.
And we're going to be digging into that.
I know that.
But, yeah. But here's the kicker with this whole letter thing. I don't know if I told you about this.
No.
Inside the letter, there was a gift.
White powder?
Well, no white
anthrax.
Powder. No white powder. No white powder. Let me see if I can find the picture of the gift for me. Let's go back here. Let's share here. And tell me if you can see this. Do you see that? Big old red sticker?
Your FOIA, so your FOIA request was on target as the county canceled the account after your inquiry. Keep investigating. Canceled the account, bank account, or
don't know. But your FOIA request was on target as the county canceled the account after your inquiry. Keep investigating.
That was referring to a FOIA you did, or a FOIA that this person who anonymously sent you this
did?
Did?
Me and someone else.
Oh, So you know the account they're talking about.
Yes. Which is, oddly enough, there's a couple FOIAs that haven't been sent back and no response has been given. The county said they needed more time. The county said they're getting to it. Now the county is ignoring it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Should we go up there and talk to him?
I don't know. I want to play this one. I want to play this one out.
Okay.
That sticker right here. Here it is. Here it is right here. There's the little guy. You can't see it because of the light and all, but trust me, it's right there.
That is the most.
That is
cryptic.
That is. You know what I want to do, and I think I might do this. I heard this from a preacher one time. He would take
a government employee.
Good point.
That means it's somebody on the inside who knew about.
Good
the
point.
Details.
Good point, brother.
This is a whistleblower, bro.
Actually, I do know who it is. But
I know you do. But
yeah. Anyway, I know a preacher who takes stuff like this, and he's damn good about it. He'll unpack this, as he calls it, like word for word in the phonetics and the structure. It's amazing. I mean, I love that kind of shit. You know?
Yeah.
The water is wide, and he can turn it into a 10-minute conversation. So anyway, that's coming.
Oh my.
That's coming. Yeah, man. That is that's some good stuff. That's some good stuff.
Yeah, let me get in on that. Let me help you.
Yeah. So next week, here on Beaufort County House of Cards, we, gosh darn it, I hope to have Matt Leber. I really want to have Matt Leber on here.
I'm sure he would be happy to. I'm sure he would.
My computer is acting stupid, so I can't look at my notes. So I'm doing this off memory, and that's not good. Yeah. I don't have.
So now you know how I have felt over the past hour and a half.
Last thing I will say, do a plug for my buddy Mike Raymond. If you're looking for a book to read, it's not very thick, but it's called The Bluffton Christmas Shop by Mike Raymond. He's a Bluffton local guy. It's inspirational stories from the Low Country. It's a great read. I mean, and I've read a couple of books here lately and been promoting them. Gosh, maybe I'm turning into my dad. A reader. Oh no, that's not me. Anyway, this is a great book. I think Mom told me she was getting it. Teresa's going to be reading this one. This is some great stories, and I hope you get it. You got ties here. Get this. You'll enjoy it, Corey.
I'm
Get it
sure.
off Amazon. And let me tell you, I want to meet Jonathan. Just remember that, Jonathan, and I want to get some tea from Cora. We'll leave it at that.
Jonathan and Cora.
Yeah. If anybody's read the book or does read the book, you'll know what I mean.
Okay.
So just a shout out for my buddy there, Mike Freeman. So what's on coming up on this week's The Overton Report?
Oh, well, I hope that people are listening to our shows, because what we're trying to do is we're interviewing as many primary candidates, Republicans, as possible. Recently we had Adam Morgan on, who's running for Congress against William Timmons up at the upstate. Stuart Jones is coming up. We're going to talk to him. He's actually one of the few legislators that I actually honestly trust as a person, which is very rare, but that man has done so much if it wasn't for him, this Chris Murphy situation, we would never know, because he's the one that pushed line items being accessible to the public in the budget. That's crazy, voting on. So he's the one who did that. Great guy, running for Jeff Duncan's seat. We're going to talk to him soon, but we're going to find out more about this Chris Murphy situation. And I think, like I said, I think that's that has the potential to be one of the biggest scandals that opens up a much wider conversation, because we've spoken about, and we've got some other investigations going on in these line item budget issues where people are, it's quid pro quo, man. We will use the money you line item to us to guide people into voting for you. 80% of the time it's Democrats doing it, from what I've seen, but there's a big uniparty aspect to that as well. And
that'll be coming up on the Overton Report on Wednesday.
That's right. And we're, this Chris Murphy thing is probably what we're going to spend most of our time on this Wednesday. And there are a couple of very scandalous situations that we're looking into. I've got to verify it, so I don't even want to say about some of the sitting state reps who are facing primary opponents now.
Speaking of scandals, did we 2 years ago we reported on this, but I don't think we did this year. Did our buddy the House reading clerk Cromer, did he have one of those weird parties this year at Christmas?
What
was it?
Interesting.
A stag party or what? No,
it was. Well, what it was is they were holding a drag show party.
That's what it was
for the Republicans. State House representatives, Buddy Cromer, and he does this every year. They kept it very hush hush this year, and there were certain people who were not invited. So we don't know how dirty it got.
That first year that you and I reported on this, at least with me involved, I had not several, it was a couple folks from Columbia were like, "We can't believe you went there." I was like,
"Oh, we can't believe you told everybody what we're doing.
Give me a break.
Give me a break." Yeah, and that's the thing. You have shady people in power. Shady things are going to happen. I don't know why this isn't common knowledge.
Isn't the old saying, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes"?
Yeah, well,
there you go.
And that's our job. Our job is we're giving the prizes out, aren't we?
That's right. We are. All right, buddy. Well,
I appreciate you, man.
That is going to do it this week for Beaufort County's House of Cards. Be sure to tune in 5 nights a week. We've got podcasts Monday with the New America Movement, Wednesday with this man right here, Corey Allen, and the Overton Report. Thursday night simulcast on Big Patriot Radio with this show. Saturday evening, Annie Ubellis, the Radio Chickadee, and Southern Sense Radio at 7 o'clock, and Sunday, Andrew Southwick. And he's becoming super famous, Culture Crossroads.
I'm doing a show with him soon, too.
Are you doing one?
Yeah. I need to reach back out to him.
Yep. Good guy. Got a good book. Read that book too.
Oh, okay.
It's actually a very damn good book. It's called where is it? I think it's out of my other room, but it's like Welcome to the Graces of Table or something like that. The Table of Grace.
Okay.
Andrew Southwick. It's on Amazon. All right, folks. Keep yourself safe. Be sure to stay tuned to what's going on out there in the world. As always, if anything pops off, you'll hear about it on our YouTube channel, where we will go stream live for things to happen. So until then, be sure to be safe, take care, and watch your six, America.